I got to tell you, Kurt, I'm really intimidated about this one.
Really?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
Well, because we're bringing somebody in who is a professional performer.
You mean like us?
What? Not somebody who has spent like decades of training and developing their craft.
Oh, that's not us.
That's definitely not us. But we are definitely amateurs at this.
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling great about this.
What do you propose we do?
I don't know. I think we just got to bring him on, right?
I guess so.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Welcome, everyone, to the Ivory Attic. I'm Ian Isherwood.
And I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And we are here with Professor Chris Kauffman from Gettysburg College. Chris Kauffman is the Adams Professor in Theater Arts. He is the first, I would say probably the first artistic practitioner we've had on the Ivory Attic, right?
Is that true?
I think it is true, isn't it?
Oh, that is intimidating now.
It is intimidating.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. We had Chris's colleague, Jules.
Yeah, but she's not. I mean, that's not what she does.
No, but she does cool artsy stuff.
She does.
Yeah, very much so. Chris Kauffman has been at Gettysburg College for quite some time. He has a BA from Gettysburg College, go Bullets, MFA from Brandeis University, and since beginning full-time teaching here in 2004, he's directed over 30 productions here at the college.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely amazing, right? But in addition to that, Chris is an active actor.
Cool.
Very cool, isn't it?
I like that a lot.
And we're going to talk about some recent work that Chris has done that will be very exciting for us to talk about.
It will be exciting.
Including on a hit show right now.
I like that.
I like that an awful lot, right?
Yeah, cool. This is where the ratings really hit.
It's where they really hit.
This is where it's hello Hollywood. Here we come.
Hello Hollywood. Welcome Chris Kauffman to the Ivory Attic.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's an honor.
It's a little hot up here. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, it's okay. It's
That's right. It gets really, really cold in the winter, so
it's fine. It's breezy, and when you're with two cool guys,
exactly.
You just
with
get
breezy
cooled
attitude
down.
Already
That's right.
buttering us up. Melted butter in the attic. So Chris, tell me about your background.
Okay. Right now, let's see. It's just a wall.
Yeah, no,
there's a closet back here. No, let's see. Well, it all started in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, well, all right. Hello.
When I was born.
Let me get my guitar out.
Yeah. Thank you for that introduction. I'm lucky to be sitting with another Gettysburg College alum, Bullet here.
Double lungs.
And we're lucky to have returned to teach here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I discovered theater here at Gettysburg. So I didn't do it in my high school, and I just
seriously?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I was doing music. I was like in a band and
cool.
What kind of band? We have to ask. What kind of band?
Well, we could call it. So this was the 80s. So I guess back then it was called like progressive rock.
Oh, prog rock.
But not in like the Yes.
Not the new prog rock.
Yeah, not like
Yes, Jethro Tull.
Not that
kinda,
stuff.
Okay.
No. More like, influenced by the Smiths and New Order and the Cure.
So I was going to guess New Order, Cure, and Smith.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, really.
Wow. Yeah. No, I saw all three of those bands in high school, and it was,
that was.
Yeah. Well, so I started playing. We got our instruments, and we couldn't really play anybody else's music yet because we weren't good enough. So we just made our own songs, and I was really influenced by New Order's bass player Peter Hook, who plays it like with a pick, and So I wasn't like trained as a bass player really until later when I started taking lessons with a guy that was my manager at this movie theater that I worked at. But that's a whole other story. We won't go down that road. But anyway, so yeah, I started theater in college, and then
Sorry to interrupt. But did you have when you got into college, were you planning on doing theater, or like you just have no idea? Were you planning on doing something else?
No, I was planning on being an English major.
Okay.
Let's back up a little. Why'd you come to Gettysburg?
It was close to Baltimore where I lived.
Oh, okay.
And I had a girlfriend who was going to be a senior in high school.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go too far away.
Yeah.
How'd that work out? Oh, sorry. No.
Lasted until March.
Well, that's longer
Which
than
was
most.
longer than I thought,
That's pretty
actually.
good.
Yeah.
Because usually it's around Thanksgiving.
I was going to say.
I know.
I think I made it to October.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I did fall in love with another girl
Oh, okay.
probably in September. But but nothing happened there. It was just love from afar.
Exactly.
And then it took me a while to actually break the news to my girlfriend about that. So that's why it lasted until March. But anyway, no, and it had a great reputation for its English department, and I wanted a small liberal arts school, and I wanted to be a poet, and,
Yeah.
So there was the Gettysburg Review and
Cool.
stuff like that. So I just was like, I'll just go here. I really literally just, it was the only place I applied.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's great.
I applied early and I was like, this is good. This one will work.
And then did you was it one of these things where were you doing English for a while, or did you basically take some sort of theater class as in your first semester and just kind of switched over?
I was dared to audition for a play.
Okay.
As dragged to audition for a play. I was like, oh God, really? Because it really wasn't anything I thought. I mean, I loved films in high school. I was a huge film buff, and I loved actors and acting. I was, really into all the great actors, film actors. And I thought I could be a writer. Maybe I could write screenplays.
Yeah.
And then, so a friend of mine was like, come audition for this thing. It's like the first week of classes.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay. And I was cast in it, and it was really fun. And I got to meet everybody there, and they said I was pretty good. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of followed through with that. I was taking English classes at the time.
Who was the director?
It was a student-directed play.
Okay.
And oh gosh, I think it was Deb Blair was she was senior. She was the director. Yeah. And so I just started getting into it more, and then auditioned for the main stage plays, and kind of just then kept doing all the plays. And then eventually one of the, when I was a freshman, there was a senior who was going to grad school for acting. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. Okay, cool. And then I always had that in the back of my mind. And then there was a teacher here named Janine Howe, who, along with the other teachers, Emil Schmidt and Jerry Hansen, encouraged me to go to grad school for acting.
Cool.
So I just applied and did that.
You went to Brandeis.
Went to Brandeis.
Yeah.
And then did you go directly from there, to looking for professor jobs, or?
No, I went to New York.
Oh,
City
okay.
From there. Yeah. Because you can't, with theater, you can't really maybe you could with a PhD, but with an MFA, your resume is the work you've done.
Got it.
It's not anything you've published. So you have to have done work and have credits that kind of mean something to be hired as a professor. So you need to be in the business for a number of years before you can actually apply for a teaching job.
And that's probably to the benefit of the students too, right?
Yeah, I would think. We would hope. So it was 9 years. Well, I came back here for one semester to do a sabbatical replacement semester, which back then in 2002 was a full-time thing. And I came from New York to come down and do this. So, just to widen it out a little bit, I was in performing a play that I'd written with someone in Baltimore, and in 2001, and I came up and visited my own professors, and then they were like, "Oh, that's cool. You're doing your play in Baltimore. Why don't you do it here?" So I came and did it here in that next January, and taught some workshops for the students. And then they were like, oh, that's great. The students really liked your classes. There's a sabbatical replacement in the fall if you're interested in applying. So I did. And I got that. And I really enjoyed the teaching. And then I went back to New York, and there was a full-time position that opened up a year and a half later. And then I applied for that. Cool. It was visiting. I was on a visiting contract for 3 years. And then that turned into tenure track. And then the rest is history. So I've just been here ever since.
Cool.
20 years now, 20 years full time.
So back when you were doing your undergrad, this is something that I think about a lot because, we're sitting in an attic that's behind my house in my garage. And it is exactly 150 feet away from my freshman dorm. And so I think about that a lot because I'm like, I never envisioned when I was an undergraduate here that I'd come back here, that I would teach here, right? And I certainly never envisioned that I would live so close to my freshman dorm, which was the site of a lot of trauma and angst for me.
Yeah, totally. Oh
so when you first came back, how did you feel?
A lot of trauma. Yeah, so seriously, I still, when I walk through the freshman quad, I have to park on on this Lincoln to go to the library, and I'm walking through the freshman quad. I have that sense memory and that oh God, those feelings of what it was like to be a freshman. It's just so. I feel for these students every fall. The new kids coming in, it's just oh my gosh.
The weekend smell of vomit in the halls.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Exactly. And there's they don't have air conditioners now, right? Still,
I think individual students can get them. Yeah. But the dorms aren't air conditioned.
Yeah, and it's staying hotter longer.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, it was very strange because a lot of my teachers were still here. So it was 9 years after I had graduated, and there were a lot of teachers in the English department. One of my teachers from the theater department was still teaching. So, but it was kind of a cool mentorship, because I was able to, with the theater program, theater professors, I was able to get some good mentorship. They knew me, they knew what my strengths were, and, were helping me in that way, which was great. And then it was just strange to then be at a fash with, one of your old teachers. And I remember this one guy
having a drink with him.
Yeah, exactly. There was this one moment where Peter Stitt, who used to be the editor of the Gettysburg Review, he has a very kind of acidic sense of humor, and he's oh hi, because I had taken a poetry class with him at one point. He's oh hi, what are you doing here? I'm oh, I'm teaching here now. He's really? Huh. Didn't you flunk? And I just kind of played along with him. I was yeah, yep. And he goes, remarkable recovery. I was just Peter. Peter.
It's very welcoming for a young,
I was
young academic.
Great. Yes, great. Thank you. Welcome. What are you doing? I thought you flunked my class. You shouldn't be anywhere near a classroom. But and some other teachers had remembered me, which was nice, and some hadn't. Which was fine. It's I was in your class. Oh, really? Okay. No, but it was nice. It's been good to be back and to be here. It's just been a nice kind of
one of my favorite things is whenever a former professor pretends to remember me when I'm I took your class, and they're oh, that's right, you did. What was that? Fall of
that look in their eyes. Well, and now I feel terrible when alumni weekend or whatever, and some people come back and I'm it's I know you. Yeah. I know you. I know you. Name. Where is it? And I feel terrible, but that happens.
It does happen quite frequently. There's a lot of students.
There's a lot of people.
Yes.
And the names overlap sometimes. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, so I'm really curious to hear about, again, as you were saying earlier, I think, scholarship for you looks so different than, and like kind of what you consider as your kind of, like the work that you do as part of your, your work here, as actor, and doing that stuff. So like, how do you, I just be curious, like, what do you think about like as your, how you go about going through, like looking at like what types of things do you look out for to try to do? What types of things do you get excited about? Or are you trying to do these days?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. There's a big part of my creative work when I was in New York was creating my own work with partners and collaborators. And when I started doing that, I found that was like the most fulfilling thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Much more fulfilling than being an actor in something or directing something, because you were also writing it.
Right.
And so it was like, wow, we had so much control, so much creative control. And it was very nerve-wracking because it was all you, like if it bombed, it wasn't just, it's your responsibility. It's not like, I'm just an actor in this sucky play.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just an actor. Don't blame me.
The lines are terrible is what the problem is.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, it's all on you. But when it works, it's like, it's all on us.
Yeah.
That's great. Like people like us, like Sally Field. And so it was really fulfilling. So I occasionally go back into that. I want to do that. I want to create stuff. And then occasionally I'm just like, well, let's see what's out there to audition for, whether that's on the stage or on screen or something. And I have an agent who sends me things to audition for. So I'm not always looking out for them. Sometimes they're just like, gotta just do the audition. If you want to keep up that relationship with the agent, like you're just like, if she sends you something and you're like, I don't really want to do that. She's going to just stop sending you things. So, so it's kind of just whatever comes around, but sometimes, and then other times it's about like, what do you want? What do you want to do? You know, which is harder because then it's like with you guys, it's like writing. It's like you're staring at this blank page and you got to start somewhere
for years.
Yeah. Sometimes for years, right? So it's like, you got to generate and like get motivated and stay motivated and all that. So sometimes it's harder to just get into a rehearsal hall and just kind of improvise and make stuff up, and hope that it turns out to be good.
And I'd imagine that there's a real kind of so I'll frame this by saying for Kurt and I, we have pretty standard, what I consider standard hours, standard kind of work ethic that we've honed over time, right? And like my wife Sam was in the theater program here in Gettysburg, and one of the things I noticed when she was a student, when I was pining after her, was that she rehearsals take forever, and the weeks leading up to a show are incredibly intense, and like you're involved in that too, right? You're involved in the process. That's a lot of hours that you're putting in, a lot of evening hours, especially that you're putting in too, right? And you've got a family, you've got your own creative work, right? You're being pulled in a lot of different directions. So it's a little bit different than, Kurt and I staring at a screen, right? And kind of calling it quits at 5 every day.
Yeah, it's funny. It's really right. It's one of those fields that can be really intense for short periods of time.
Yeah.
And then there's like a long period of time between plays or between projects where there's really nothing going on, You're just kind of waiting for the next thing. And that's when you find that time to kind of like, okay, if the phone isn't ringing, if nothing's coming in the door, that's like, okay, now it's time to generate something new. Which is like, I remember hearing an interview with a guy named Simon McBurney, who is the artistic director of a theater company in England called Complicité. And this was back in the 90s when I guess I was reading this interview, and he's like, that's the worst thing, is like waiting for the phone to ring as an actor. It's the worst. So nobody wants to do that. So we just started making it ourselves. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I could do that. Yeah. And then, when you start, it seems a little like going around the norm, like, shouldn't an actor just always be auditioning and that kind of thing? But then when you look back at history and everything else, like, I mean, Shakespeare was in his own plays, and Moliere was in his own plays, and Lin-Manuel Miranda is in his own plays. Like, a lot of the great things are things that people are writing for themselves too. And so it's like, oh, okay, I can do that. It's not so out of the, yeah. It's not like too egotistical or something. So, and then the form that we were using for the plays that we were writing was this kind of anti-theater clown world in New York that where we were just like playing characters that didn't belong on stage. So that was kind of like, that was another way of allowing it to be, allowing us to sort of like take the leads in our own work, because we were playing the butts of our own jokes. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a stand-up who's the butt of his own joke, but it's in the theater. You're like making a play where you don't belong there. and it's sort of the idea of that is that that whole, this going back to Simon and McBurney and complicity, it's the complicity in theater is that shared understanding between an audience and an actor. So it's like, we understand that you're making fun of yourself. We understand that this is supposed to be bad theater, and you don't have to tell us. You're just doing it. And we're sort of like complicit in the joke together.
So it's interesting, to prep for this interview, you mentioned Philippe Gallier. Is that
Gaulier?
Gaulier,
yeah.
So then Kurt said you got to watch some YouTube videos, and and the one interview that Kurt sent me was fascinating, right?
Of Philippe?
Yeah. Because I showed some of it to my wife Sam so that she could talk my head through kind of how I was going to approach the subject to you, because it's intense, it's very raw and insulting, right? A lot of the feedback and.
And for those who don't know, this is clowning. His. Well, actually, you probably describe what is he training?
Yeah, so he has his own theater school.
Okay.
In outside of Paris in Étampes. And I was there. I was in Étampes once with him for about 5 weeks, and then I studied with him in New York in the 90s too. And he's a theater teacher. He comes from the Lecoq School, which is also trained Simon McBurney and a bunch of other people. This is sort of a French theater school that was started by a guy named Jacques Lecoq. Anyway, Philippe has his own school now. And he used to teach at Lecoq. He was one of Lecoq's students, and he used to teach there. And he has his own school since the 80s. It was in London, and then it moved to Paris, and now it's in Étampes. And so he's 81 now, and he's still teaching. I was actually going to go over this summer, but I decided not to, because it was during the Olympics, and I was like, this is going to be crazy to go try to, flights and everything over at the Olympics. But so his style of teaching is what they would call, in that European model that starts with Lecoq and maybe goes back even further, but the via negativa, which is to say the negative way, like, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
Like, just rather than being like supportive.
So that becomes very apparent in the videos.
Yeah. So he's very mean. He's very mean, but in a hilarious way. And that's sort of the fun, is he's playing this kind of mean guru character. But he's also like doing it in a very insulting way. So he'll just say to you, like, Ian, your acting is the worst thing I've ever seen. No, wait. Hiroshima bomb. That is the worst thing I've ever seen. Your acting is second. Who would like to kill Kurt? When he comes on, he is so boring. So awful boring. Just who would like to kill him? Ian, would you like to kill him? And then he gets everyone in the class to be like, is he awful? Georgie, is he awful? And George will be like, yeah, he's awful. See, Georgie thinks you're awful, Kurt. George thinks you're awful. You're horrible. Adios immediately, 000. And you just have to leave the stage and get off. So he'll let you stay on stage sometimes just like a few seconds. Like if it's not funny, because I mean, most of the time he's teaching humor and he teaches clown, but he also teaches like Shakespeare and Chekhov. He teaches masks. He teaches Greek theater. But what he's trying to do is teach you freedom. And by putting your feet on the fire so much, you sort of you don't have that sort of facade of your ego anymore. Yeah. And so you go into a place of like just being totally present and vulnerable and taking risks. And that's when you start to succeed, is when you don't worry about him tearing you down anymore. But you have to go through all of that tearing.
Right.
You have to go through it. And then what happens is like you have this moment of success, right? And you're like, I got it. And then the next time you go up, you're terrible. You're just terrible. But he talks about it. He talks about it for himself too. Like he says, I was a horrible teacher yesterday. You know, I feel horrible. I was so bad teacher. But today I will be better. You know, or something. And it's just like, it happens to all of us, you know? I mean, right? As teachers, like some days we're just,
absolutely. Yeah.
we just
It's just
don't,
not there.
It's just not there.
Yeah.
And it feels terrible. But the lessons of Philippe, I mean, there's so many for theater and for acting. He's been just the way, the risks he takes. Like he makes you sign a waiver now that you won't sue him when you start, because he is so insulting. Like he'll be like, oh God. So one of my friends told this story that he would just be so insulted by Philippe every time he got up there. He'd be like, he was like, okay, who's going to go next? And my friend Michael would go up, and then he would go, ladies, calm. Michael is going on the stage now. Calm down. Because and he'll be like, okay, so Adriana, when you look at Michael on stage, before seeing Michael on stage, you were classic heterosexual? Right? Yes. And now you think maybe not so much, right? Like he has no beauty. He is not beautiful. Michael, you have to be beautiful. You walk on stage, you're so boring. You have to have your beauty. So, I mean, he goes there with the insults, and he just, he takes those risks and is really mean. But he does it in good fun, and he's just trying to teach you to be, to be more free. So you're not worried about failing all the time.
Right. And stripping away the ego, that's very important, right? And the one interview that I saw, a lot of it was in the emphasis with like feeling and reading the audience, right? And understanding that the audience reaction is actually really important for actors. Right? Yeah. Which is, but also, in the very practical way of just listening to an audience while you're performing, but also in the sort of like important way in just kind of like everyday interactions about being present.
Yeah.
and being in the rehearsal room and being present with your other actors and just constantly being present. So like that kind of lesson can help us as teachers too, because we like can come into the room and we need to be able to read the room and know that like, okay, well, let's go down this. Mm-hmm. This is exciting, people. Let's go down this area of discussion or exercise, and let's go down that area because that thing is everybody's going to sleep.
Right.
I need to like change gears. And do something. So to just really be like present all the time. And the clown exercises are a lot about having fun and being funny. But you realize that you're only funny when you're not trying to be funny.
Right.
You know? So if you're as a professor, if you're trying to be funny all the time,
oh no,
it's
the worst.
It.
Yeah, it's the kiss of death in the classroom, right?
Yeah. But if unless you're making fun of yourself afterwards when the joke bombs.
Right.
Because that's where the clown
Kurt does a lot of that.
A lot.
But you got to be
a lot of bombing and a lot of
but you got to be self-aware enough to like know that I'm now and that joke didn't go, and actually they'll start laughing when you make fun of it, right? which is what the clown essence is. Like Lecoq, the guy I mentioned before, when he first started this work as an actor training tool, he did this thing called the Ring of Fire, which I did in my grad school also when I was studying clown for the first time, where you have to get up in front of everyone and you can't sit down until you make everybody laugh.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's rough.
And what you learn is that people will laugh when you accept your humanity and your failure rather than the joke that you actually start with. So it's that sort of like tail of the joke, or like the little after, like we call it the bead or the drop, which is like the recognition where it's like, oh, I'm not funny. I'm really not funny.
What a brutally awkward exercise.
Yeah, because then it's you.
Yeah.
And that's funny.
Right.
Right.
It's when it's you, not this idea that you have of you being a funny comedian.
Right.
Not this, then it's actually you failing, and that's what makes us laugh.
Funny, right?
Yes. Because it's like, oh, but that's why every student's clown is different, because there's no one thing. There's not one clown that everybody's aspiring to be. Right. Every clown is going to be different, because it's like a ridiculous part of yourself that you are finally willing to accept. And that becomes the thing.
I think I have now decided that actually this class should be required, like Chris just making all of our students go through this. I think like this should be one of our required courses.
Well, we'd have to get the waiver. Because the
class is just called
the
Ring of Fire.
Provost's office is going to get a lot of calls.
Just called Ring of Fire.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's actually really interesting to talk about, but it's really difficult to explain, and sometimes it just sounds really stupid, But like the Lecoq was he was never really that well accepted by his peers in the theater in France. And in fact, a lot of people came from all over the world to go to the Lecoq School and to Philippe's school too. Like Philippe, a lot of French people don't go to study with Philippe.
Okay.
It's strange, but they come from everywhere else. Like when I was there last, Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, a lot of Australians, English, a couple of Americans, Spanish, Colombian, Belgian, Norway, like they come from all over, but not France for some reason. It's really strange. I think sometimes they do. But what I've learned is that both Lecoq and I think Philippe too, they're very anti academia in terms of theater.
Yeah. Because
they and other academics kind of put them down as anti-intellectual. But it's actually kind of a really interesting and fascinating concept in terms of pedagogy and also in terms of like theater and how it can relate to life. But partially because so much of it is silent. like, and you're doing stuff in masks, you're doing stuff without words, and you're trying to be funny without words, and you're doing movement exercises, and that kind of stuff is considered anti-academia or anti-intellectual, I think. So I saw recently my daughter goes to a college, and goes to a different college, and she was looking up the course catalog for the fall, and she's like, oh, there's a clowning course. I was like, oh, really? What is it? She's like, it's called Clowning Through Shakespeare, Beckett, and Rigorous Play. And I was like, that is genius. That's how you get clowning into a small liberal arts curriculum. Through Shakespeare, Beckett, and rigorous
rigorous play.
Rigorous play. Because otherwise it's just considered...
Rigorous play sounds like a really bad euphemism. I have to say like that.
Oh, boy. Yeah. But otherwise it's just considered ridiculous. I mean, that's the problem with even the word clown in America, is it goes right into like Ringling and Krusty and serial killers and whatever.
Yeah.
So, but in Europe, it has a totally different meaning and a tradition than we have here. It's subtle, it's personal, it's quiet, there's stillness. It's about drawing the audience in and not forcing yourself on them, which is like totally antithetical to what we think of as a clown in this country,
Which
whereas
is
like
a lot of forcing.
A lot of forcing. But a lot of those early Cirque du Soleil clowns, like David Shiner, who's one of my teachers, and René Bazinet from Salt and Banco, like you watch those guys on the early videos, and they're just like butter. They just know how to stand there and make people laugh with the smallest little gesture on their face, or just the one little look out to the audience. And they're just brilliant. And they've studied. René went to Lecoq. And David Shiner is an American who just did a lot of training on the streets in Germany and France, where he just would perform to a bunch of people in the streets, but he did it in a way that was like really tasteful and fun, and not like making fun of you behind your back like street mimes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different thing. But anyway, I think Gettysburg College, we should have a required clowning class.
Absolutely.
We should maybe have it for new faculty orientation.
We absolutely should have it.
Or maybe older faculty
Well, I was going to say,
to strip away the ego.
I was
going to
say, stripping away one or two egos would probably be
something
worthwhile
that academia
needs. So Chris, one of the things I love too is that, I mean, you use that kind of all that work that you've done, but now, I mean, and now you've been doing like a lot of more serious acting, right? Recently, where you've gotten some of that stuff. So tell us about some of the stuff you've been doing lately.
Yeah, it's funny. When I started acting in college, I never thought of myself as a comedian, a comedic actor, really, but I was cast in comedic things right away, and I think it was because I was trying hard to be serious. And it was funny.
The opposite response.
Yeah, exactly.
The writer intended.
Exactly. I had to I still take workshops now and then because I still take workshops now and then because I just love doing mostly like clown workshops still, or mask workshops, being a student and just putting myself through those paces and learning what other teachers do. So I did a workshop up in Maine about 7 years ago. It might have been the last one I did. And it was with this guy named Aitor, who I'd performed with in the same festival, which was like a U.S. Comedy Arts Festival in 2001. And he has this great company called Spy Monkey in England. He's a Spanish performer. And so I took a workshop with him on just creating new material. So everybody just had to get up there and do new material. And then the rest of the class would just tell them what they felt worked or didn't work with it. And at some point he was just like, you just stand on stage or you just start to dance or move or whatever, and we pee our pants. Like your body is funny. So I was like, okay, all right. But no, it started to put the pieces together a little bit where it's like, okay, I think I started getting cast in these comedic roles because my body was funny. When I move, I'm funny. I'm not trying to be funny. It's just funny. But yeah, when I did some serious roles in college too, and I always loved it.
Yeah.
To do the serious roles, but then, now I think television. So I've been doing some small parts on TV and film and stuff lately, and I'm always like being asked to audition for like FBI guy number 2 or whatever, creepy preacher guy, dad, sort of forlorn dad, all these parts, but they're all serious, they're not comedic parts, they're all like serious parts in these serious shows, and I try my hardest to get cast, but I just feel like sometimes I like, especially with the FBI stuff, like I'm furthest from an FBI guy I think I can like in my life.
I'm trying to think of you like beating a confession out of somebody.
Yeah.
Waterboarding somebody.
Yeah. Right, exactly. No, I did play an FBI agent one time, like 20 years ago in New York for this show called Astonishing News, which was like a kind of like a reenactment show that was in Japan about like all the crazy crimes that happen over here in the States. So I played this FBI guy who was investigating a murder, serial killer, right? And at one point I had to go up and knock on the door to someone, and this like bee was coming after me. So I had to I just totally like broke character and like swatted the bees away from me, like while they were filming. And the director was like on the floor laughing. She was like, and I was like, I really should be doing comedy, I think, not playing an FBI agent. Yeah, anyway, getting definitely more serious things lately. But yeah, I try to bring some levity to it. So there was one show that we did a few years ago, which was a David Simon show, the guy who did The Wire. Mm-hmm. I love that writer. And I played a defense lawyer to the lead actors, John Bernthal. And
remind me the name of the show.
The show's called We Own This City.
Yeah.
And I'm just in the last episode. And it's funny because I was there. I was only on set for 3 days. But I remember coming back, and a friend of mine here was like, "Oh, you tell me about it." We were sitting for like an hour, and I was telling him about all the scenes and I was in and stuff. And then I saw him after it came out, and he's like, "Did you get cut from it?" I was like, "What? No, I'm in it." He's like, "Oh, I didn't notice you."
Oh no!
That's I guess how little I actually appear in it. But I was like, "Oh, I shaved. Maybe that was
right."
So anyway, so it's small part. Let's just put it that way, small part. But when I was doing the scene, one of the scenes, the actor John Bernthal just started improvising with me off script, and I was like, "Wait, what? What is he doing? Should I respond?" Like I didn't have there were no lines for me to repeat. Right. I'm actually, the one line in that scene was just Wayne, which is like his name. And then he's like, "No, it's okay. I got it. Don't worry." And then other people are supposed to come in, but he just let the camera roll. He just wanted to, and he just was like, What? Why are you looking at me like that?" And then I'm like, "What is he doing? Should I?" And I look over at the director, and the director's just sitting there like letting this improvisation go, and the cameras are rolling and everything. And I was just like, I got all the status. I'm his lawyer. I don't have to say anything. He can yell at me. It's fine. I got my billables coming. Like, I just sat back and just let him yell at me. And David Simon started laughing, or someone was laughing in the room, and I was like, I guess I'm just doing this. So it's serious. It was a serious thing, but it was just sort of like still able to try to make
to get
a
that
little fun happen now and then. But that, and then I'm playing a small part in this show called Lady in the Lake, which is on Apple TV. It just came out this month.
Which I've been watching so far and is excellent. I'm really enjoying. A really interesting story, well acted.
Yeah.
Just very good.
It's fun. It's a very small part also. If you don't know to look for me, you might not see me. But I just interact with Natalie Portman, who's the protagonist in the show. As one of her coworkers, she drops a bag of bagels on my desk, and because I'm like, hey, Maddie, where are the bagels? And she's like, they're right here. And then I take the bag and I throw them over to one of my coworkers. And I do that like 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Well, we did it maybe 40 times when we shot it.
I say they showed it at least 4 or 5 because it's like there's like a montage.
Yeah, it's montage, repeatable montage. So then I'm in that episode. I just saw it last night actually, and then I'm in another episode where I won't spoil it.
Yeah,
but,
because that's coming out I think soon. Yeah.
Yeah, episode 7. I think the last episode.
Yeah.
And who knows? You know, when you do this, you never know what they're going to keep.
Yeah.
I might just be like, again, there's my bald head again.
we were joking around though because as Chris told us, like one of your absolute fears was that you were going to just slug Natalie Portman with a bag of bagels.
Oh my God. No, it was totally stressful. Because the director, who was really cool woman, Alma Harrell is her name. She was kind of like, okay, let's do this. You're gonna he'll drop the bag here, and then you chuck it over to him. And Natalie Portman's just gonna walk right by, and I had to throw it in front of her face so many times. And I mean, even one time.
Well, at least it isn't how she makes her money.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Unlike us.
Right. Yeah. No, it shouldn't be a problem if I had a giant black eye for this next scene. That's no problem.
Break Natalie Portman's perfect aquamarine nose.
Right. Makeup. Yeah. Well, one time they were shooting, and I was like,
and your arm's getting tired, and your aim's going off a little bit.
Yeah. Oh God, I was. I had to like curve. You know, it was almost like a curveball to make sure that it
put the stuff on a bagel.
Yeah, so that it didn't smack her in the face. And one time we were shooting, and I was just like, "Oh!" I said that out loud. I'm not supposed to, because it was like I could see it just going right across her nose. And but nobody stopped or cut or anything.
She's a professional.
They didn't use that. There were more sections where like they wanted us to. The guy next to me was going to toss me a bagel, and I would catch it and take a bite out of it. And one time, I dropped the bagel. I didn't catch it. I dropped it, and I pretended to take the bite out of it. And then the assistant director came up and was like, "Don't pretend to take the bite out of it. You know, we can see you." And I just wanted to be like, "Oh, well, that's the one that
was on the floor."
On the floor. I'm sure you aren't going to use that take anyway, but it's okay. Yeah, it's not a glamorous.
Eat the bagel. Eat the bagel. Eat the floor bagel, Chris.
Eat the bagel off the floor. Commit to your art.
I was going to say.
I was like, oh my God.
You want to be in this business?
Yeah. It's not a glamorous life. The poor props guy was like, I only have 27 bagels. So.
And we were all down to cinnamon raisin.
Yeah. We're all just eating them all day. And it's like, God. But they didn't ask, they didn't say, like, do you have a gluten allergy? Nothing. It was just like, you're going to eat this bagel. You're going to eat that bagel. And then they were like, do you smoke? And I was like, no, but I can. I used to. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, these are like herbal cigarettes. Would you mind smoking? I was like, no, that's fine. So they did that like all day long too. Because it takes place in the 60s. So I'm like smoking and really inhaling this stuff. And
smoking an herbal cigarette while eating a bagel. Yeah. Talking about like glamour.
A dry, plain bagel with nothing on it, not toasted. But one of the assistant DP was like watching me drag on this cigarette, and she's like, "Thanks for taking one for the team." I was like, Hey, no problem. Anyway.
Well, I think we will.
Situation.
Just for the record, if she calls up, I think we will make the exception of only having academics on this show for Natalie Portman, if she wants to come.
Oh yeah.
So just let her know.
Yeah.
We're open to that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So make sure to mention that.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Yeah. Next time I talk to her.
Yeah, exactly.
And if she
Yeah.
comes on, we'll give her like a free shot glass or something with our.
Well,
logo
actually, we
on
could
it.
do a whole segment where she stands here and you chuck bagels past her face.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be great.
I've heard she's a fan of the show. Yeah.
Big fan.
Big fan. Big fan. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, Natalie, you're going to have to be put on hold with the rest of the audience because I think we're moving on to something else. What are we moving on to?
Well, we got to ask the question.
Exactly. Oh, I forgot about the question.
The question.
Yeah, Natalie's yelling at us right now. She's
Definitely.
like, I know how this works.
So ask the question.
What brings you joy?
Brings me joy. Aside from the Muppets, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, no, it could be all about the Muppets. if you
Oh,
want
okay.
to.
Yeah, I've listened to this podcast before. I know I'm not supposed to be like my family or my students, right?
We actually
Isn't
just bleeped those two words.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
that- even though it's true,
We bleeped that
my
too. You
family-
it's just been a continuous series.
sitting
of
around
bleeps.
chatting with my beep beep
Yes.
all day is the most exciting thing one can do. And my wife, beep, and my dog.
Oh.
Dog does not get bleeped, I guess.
We'll let dog through.
No, I like dog.
We'll let dog through.
It's the first dog answer we've had.
It's the first dog
I mean,
answer we had.
It's true. It's a deep joy with
It
my
is.
dog. No, I'm being totally serious right now.
The dog doesn't care. I mean, she doesn't listen, I don't think.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But that's why it's genuine.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It's not, I'm not trying to butter her up at all. She does give me pure joy, that dog. Yeah, like, I mean, I love talking about clown stuff, to be honest, and like doing stuff like this with the students. I don't get to do it very often because it just is like one section in an acting class.
Well, now that you have this idea for this awesome new class.
Yeah, right. We did this
about
the whole semester of clowning.
Serious play or whatever. Rigorous play.
Rigorous play.
Yeah.
And love going to theater. But one thing I have noticed that I really just lately have noticed that gives me a lot of joy are the curtain calls of a show. Not doing one,
Yeah,
but
sure. Like watching it?
Yeah. If it's a show that I've done really that I've enjoyed a lot, it's like brings me to tears because I just am so happy for them that they've done this thing together and the whole audience is giving back for the first time really together.
Yeah.
And it's just such a joyful kind of moment. I totally like tear up or sob at a curtain call for a beautiful play or musical. It's like, you did it.
Yeah. You actually you made
did
it
it.
happen. Yeah.
You made it happen. We loved it. You changed us. We're going to go out there happy now. And we're all cheering and clapping together. It's like a really, really fun experience. Yeah.
That's a beautiful
That's
answer.
cool. I was going to say, I like that one a lot.
And it's so different than Kurt's response because Kurt's response always going into it is, I don't think you can do this. There's no way you're going to pull this off.
No, I tell him that before every show, actually.
Right.
So it's like break a leg, right? It's the same type of thing. You're wishing them something bad, right?
Right.
So it happens good.
Right.
That's the sad thing about this medium, though, isn't it? That you don't have an audience. Well, you should do it live. So we could give you a curtain call at the end.
Yeah. Or
something
something else. Yeah.
Some heads of lettuce.
I was gonna say some vegetables. Yeah. Which would, I mean, listen, that's also a response.
We should do a live show on campus.
Yes, you
Absolutely.
should.
We should. Let's do it.
Fill up the cub.
Yeah, have it in 2 weeks.
Could use the Klein probably. Could probably use the Klein Theater.
That would be great to use the stage at the Klein Theater.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I love it.
We should do it this winter when I get back.
Yeah. So for the listeners, Ian is going away for a bit, so we're going to be doing some interesting new programming. But maybe whenever he's back, start some live show. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Get like one of the celebs off campus rather than just like
Actually, Natalie, this would be the
bottom of
perfect. This would be the perfect
Natalie
moment
Oh,
for you.
Natalie, yeah, that's true.
But if she can't make it, we should work on
We should work on an alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll think about it.
Yeah, we'll think about it.
Actually, you can think about it. Send in your suggestions.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
great idea.
Yeah. Mail at theivoryattic.com. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Now, I think it's time.
Well,
For?
first we have to take a break, don't we?
Well, let's take a break and then we'll come back.
Yeah,
That's
let's
what
take a
I'm saying. Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the Ivory Attic.
I'm Kurt Andreessen.
I'm Ian Isherwood, and we're here with Chris Kauffman. So which segment are we doing now?
I think it's time for. Listen, we've been on the hot seat the whole time. Now it's time for this guy to enter it on our segment we call.
Did you know?
I love that. I love the way you say that.
That's why he's the only one allowed to say it.
It's did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know?
So for your quiz, the last couple of quizzes we've had, we went to Dean Chat, and Dean Chat, frankly, failed us in the last couple times.
Yeah, it's been real stinkeroonies.
Yeah, so the first time we went to Dean Chat, it was great. Last two, not so good. So instead, I went to my favorite Gettysburg College theater major.
Yeah, and for the record, for those of you who are worried, what we are going to do is we've hired some consultants. They're going to come in.
They're higher ed consultants.
They're going to work with Dean Chat.
Oh,
talk to her about.
That's really the only way.
Yeah, to talk to her about some of the ways she can have even more successes in the future.
Yeah, to work on Dean Chat's material.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, that's the way.
Yeah. So but don't worry.
So I went to my favorite Gettysburg College theater major, who happens to be my wife, and so I went to Sam.
Chris, you're not going to dispute that? Come on.
100%.
No offense. But Sam was actually a theater major in the 90s, so she came after you, but still in the old days of the Emil Schmidt days.
Yeah.
And so she came up with one question and one follow-up for you.
Okay.
Ooh.
And the question is, are you funny?
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Wait, this is a.
That's the question.
Is that okay?
It's the quiz question.
Okay, the quiz question. Gotta get it right. What's the answer? Occasionally. But you can't try to be. Is the thing.
See, that's the thing.
That's the thing.
And I think she wanted to put you on the hot seat.
Yeah,
with that question.
Wow.
I love
Brutal.
it. It's a good one.
And here's the follow-up.
Okay.
Wait, did you get it right?
Oh, he gets it right. Yeah, he got
Okay.
it right.
I listen.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
because he made us
You
laugh.
have the answers over there.
No, he
You
made
know,
us laugh. He
okay.
proved it. The follow-up is also brutal, though.
Uh-oh.
Why does it even matter?
No, that's a great one. That's a really great one. That's a probing one. We could spend the entire semester in that clowning class talking about this.
Yeah. About
why does it matter if one is funny? And I think the answer is the same impetus that you have for your podcast here in finding joy, right?
Yeah.
You got to find joy in life.
Mhm,
if you
sure.
don't, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
It's just too hard.
That's
You
funny.
just got to laugh at yourself. You got to keep laughing
Yeah.
at yourself and all the things that bring you down, and just got to find that funny, because if you don't, what,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
hard.
can I see that notebook you have here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's the answer. It actually does say, otherwise it's too hard.
Otherwise,
Yay.
That's
what
Thank
it
you.
says.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
What do I get? What's my prize?
The prize is you get to say on the podcast.
Hey, nice.
Which means eventually you might get a drink.
Yeah, you will.
But not yet.
So what's our next segment?
It has something to do with clothing. Something. Do you remember?
What's your style?
Oh, that's the one. All right.
That's
Hey,
my style.
Chris, what's your style?
Oh boy.
Style's not just about clothing.
No.
Style's about all kinds
everything.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could say I that's interesting because I was really locking into the clothing thing. You know, being a fan of this podcast, and I've thought about it ever since you first introduced this section. I was like, what would I say?
Mm-mm.
And I'm always impressed by people's answers. So there's a lot of pressure around this for me, but I think it's going back to the Muppets. It's Muppet-core. Because I wear the same thing every day, basically.
You have a spiked collar that comes out from around your neck.
Yeah. Actually, one time, this is about 15 years ago, a student, I was like pointing out that I was wearing the same green sweater, V-neck sweater a lot. And I was kind of apologizing to my class. I'm like, I know I wear this sweater a lot. And she's like, you're like a Muppet. I wear the same thing every day. I was like, oh my God. I didn't even notice that they were wearing the same thing every day until she said that. I was like, Ernie and Bert wear the same thing.
Yeah, they don't change your clothes.
They don't change. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Muppet-core X clearance racket Target core.
All right. Good.
X.
What? So, do you feel though, like, I mean, when you're doing, and I mean, it's again, as like, I wonder when you're trying, like, when you were trying to do, let's say, like, you're going into something where you're like trying to be funny or something like, do you actually think about, like, are my clothes funny? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there like,
yeah, oh gosh, no. This goes back to like the whole clown theory stuff.
Yeah, because
there is actually such a thing, clown history and everything. You know, Felipe tells this story about the clown. First time a clown arrived, a clown was swept up the elephant poop and the horse poop at the circus. It was the guy who did that who decided to try on the ringmaster's clothes. And he put on the jacket and it was way too big. And then the ringmaster comes in. He's like, what are you doing in my dressing room? And he like chases him out of the room. And he runs into the ring, not knowing there's nothing else out there. And he was standing in the center of the ring. And he's standing there with this big jacket and maybe tried on the big pants too. And the whole audience laughs. And he's just looking around like, what? What's so funny, you know? Again, not trying to be funny, but just coming on when he shouldn't be. Doesn't belong there. Right. Doesn't belong there. And has this long sleeves that cover his hands, you know, and looking like an innocent, like, what am I doing? What's so funny? What's looking around? You know, is someone funny behind me? What's going on? And just that is like the birth of the clown. So now, and especially here in the States, these circus clowns, they wear this like baggy stuff, and it's become kind of, you know, stereotypical. Yeah. But I remember doing a clown show workshop once with David Shiner, and people were wearing like lots of loud stuff and handkerchiefs and buttons and, you know, suspenders and all this stuff. And he's just like, stop. Take off the handkerchief. Remove the button. Take off the funny tie. Lose the hat. And then he just goes, Ringling is dead. It's like, oh my God, it's so harsh. But I mean, there's, I don't dress. I try not to dress in a funny way because that's just like forcing yourself on the world. Like, look at me, I'm funny. In the same way that like, if you wear a clown nose, it doesn't make you funny.
Right.
This is a great kind of way of thinking about acting and pedagogy for acting and clown too. Is like a costume doesn't make the character. A clown nose doesn't make you a clown. if you have a clown nose on and you're juggling, you're not a clown, you're a juggler. You know? So, especially if you do it well.
Right.
Clowns are just constantly supposed to fail. So if you're doing a juggling act with a clown nose, you're not funny. You're not a clown. Doesn't make sense. Right. So with the essence of the clown appears behind the mask of the nose. And it's a paradoxical existence in this mask. Like the mask exercises, because they say they reveal the actor rather than hide them when they put on a mask. Because it gives you enough of a buffer in between you and the audience, or you and your ego. It's like, now I'm not me, I'm something else. And you can take more risks, and you become you a little bit more, even behind the red nose. So you got to find that joy and that essence underneath it all, regardless of what you're wearing, whether that's like funny clothes, a red nose, anything. You got to find the joy and the essence, the vulnerability of you being you, accepting your ridiculous side, and that sort of like humanity. Because that's what the clown is there for. It's to show us that we all fail all the time. But you have to really be failing also. And then you find success through that failure. So that's the paradox.
Man, this is deep.
It's deep.
It's hard work being funny. I'm glad I don't do it very often.
This is also, yeah, well, it's hard work. It sounds like you're down on yourself a lot, too. But this is a great message for higher ed, though, I think, right? Because imposter syndrome is so much a part of higher education and academics, and perfectionism is a part of it. And so that idea of failing constantly and laughing at yourself, right?
Yeah.
And Kurt and I, when we were younger academics, started wearing tweed because we thought it would make us look smarter in the classroom. Now I think we wear it slightly ironically because because we realize that it doesn't make you smart. Right?
It super doesn't.
In fact, quite the opposite.
I think you're giving me so many good ideas, but I think that the new thing should be that actually all professors have to teach in red nose.
Oh my God!
Right?
I brought you guys. Huh? Hold on. I'm opening a bag here now. I brought you guys some red noses. Here they are. You each have your own brand new, never worn before.
Oh man!
Red nose with a little string on it.
Oh,
now I can't tell. Am I supposed to be funnier now or less funny? I can't tell.
It's working for you.
Yeah, you guys are funny.
Is it working?
It's working.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's working.
Well, that's the thing. You guys already have this infectious joy with each other because you're such good friends and because you're doing something you love.
Especially with the fox lady behind you. It's looking really good.
That does look like it belongs at a circus a little bit there. Yeah, but no, I'm with you.
It's a shocked clown.
But that imposter syndrome thing and the perfectionism thing, I used to teach clown workshops at the Williams College Summer Theater Lab, and because we performed there, my one of my main performing partners is a Williams alum, and we performed there together. And then at Williams, and then I ended up teaching clown workshops there in subsequent summers because I did some work at the Williamstown Theater Festival, which was housed on the campus of Williams College. So I would do both. And he said, this is the guy who hired me to do it was also a Williams alum. I was like, this is just what these Williams students need because they're such perfectionists.
Yeah.
But it applies to Gettysburg students too.
Yep.
It applies to most all kids these days. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them who are going to college and like really wanting to do well. And it's like, yes, of course, we all want you to do well.
Yeah.
But we also have to learn to just like learn to let go.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to be bad. You know, Philippe would say all the time, like, oh, your crises are perfect. They're so good for you. You know, when you get up here and you fail, it's so great. You know, you go home, you go like, oh, I was so bad today. I was so bad. You know, you walk 25 kilometers. You keep saying, I was so bad. I was so bad. I'm so bad. You lie in bed at night and you say, oh, I was so bad. I was so bad today. I was so bad. I'm a horrible actor. And then, you know, you sleep and you wake up and, the unconscious help you. And then the next day you come in and you're better.
That's good.
It's like things can work out. You can work out.
Yeah.
You work out that anxiety sometimes. And running towards the danger, I had another French collaborator named Robert, who was in this theater company called the Théâtre du Soleil, which was, it still is a great international touring theater company. And that artistic director studied Lecoq. It all goes back to France. And he used to say all the time, like, fear is like a flag jumping up and calling you over, like, come over here. Anytime you feel fear of going on stage or really, aside from the obvious things like don't approach a rattlesnake.
Tigers, yeah.
Right.
Emotional tigers. We've talked about those.
Yeah, right. So other things that, cause you this anxiety, like you got to just go.
Yeah.
Got to go for it. Got to go and work it out. And the benefits of performing in theater, and if you're not, doesn't matter if you're going to be an actor. Like the benefits of working through that anxiety of performance, the benefits of like playing someone else other than you, and getting into the shoes of other people, and like, who are these people? Why do they behave the way they behave? All those questions that you have to ask as an actor will, even though they're scary, will help you in your life. That's what I believe. That's why I'm teaching it.
Oh, that's excellent. And that's given me a lot to think about. And I think to help me think, we have to move to our next segment,
which is Kurt's Cocktail Corner.
Yeah,
let's come up right after this break. Welcome back to the Ivory Attic. I'm Ian Isherwood.
And I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And we are here for Kurt's Cocktail Corner.
Hey, all right. My favorite time.
We got our noses on.
We got our noses on. We're ready to drink. So for this drink, Chris, what did you decide for the name for this one?
I think, was it the clown nose?
It was the red nose.
The red nose.
The red nose.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
In honor,
which I guess I didn't realize has a lot to do with drinking.
It does.
Oh, that's why I loved it. That's why I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So this is the red nose. So go ahead and take a sip and see what you think about it.
Okay. Smooth. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's got some that's kind of a little sweet, a little bitter.
Sweet, a little bitter. Exactly.
A little smoky.
Yeah, what do you got, Ian? Ian's got his finger up. He's looking at a pinkish red drink. We've got a nice cherry in the bottom. The cherry is supposed to be the red nose.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go.
You like
There it
that?
is.
Yeah.
The base is rum.
No, wow. Now that's a palate right there.
Wow. I taste that now.
I don't think I could have done that. Well done.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, it's Probitas rum.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. What do you got? Let's see what else you can do.
Seltzer.
Yep. Good. Yep. There was bubbles in it. You know why that is, right?
Because it's effervescently funny.
I love that. But no, because what do clowns always have?
Seltzer.
Seltzer
bottles. Always have them.
They always
Spray
have
in
it.
the
They
face.
always have it. It's
Yeah.
required.
Spray or pie. Those are the two.
I should have made this lemon flavor.
Yeah.
for the
lemon.
You can put a little floral notes in too.
Right.
The water coming out of the flower.
All right. So you got some. Do you know what's? You got to be able to guess what's making it red, right?
It's grenadine.
No, Campari.
Campari.
That's what's making it bitter too. There's a little bit of. I actually had to look it up because I wanted to honor Philippe a little bit, and also Chris, you bought me this really a couple of years ago. You bought me this really nice liqueur that I thought I should probably serve you at some point. The Beauchamp orange cognac liqueur.
Oh, okay.
Which has a little bit of it.
Nice.
So that's the French, the French part of it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So the red nose.
Yeah.
The Beauchamp.
Oh, this is very good. It's very refreshing
It is.
too.
It's delicious.
Well, I was considering the fact that we were going to be in 100-degree attic.
It's not 100. It's more like 93.
Well, and I think drinking goes along with clowning occasionally because well, Philippe said one point, someone was like, so what if you're not, what if you just don't feel funny and you have to go on? And Philippe used to perform with a partner named Pierre Bilon. And they had a legendary show called Plates, in which they each sat next to a stack of dinner plates and they would break them one at a time. And they broke 200 plates a night. It's a legendary show. And just playing with the reactions of the audience and what happens. I mean, I don't know. I would love to see a video. I don't know if there's one, but and someone's like, what if you're just not feeling funny? And you go out and he's like, little coterone before going on. It's fine. One glass, it's fine. So we can make it the red nose instead of coterone.
There are lots of ways to acquire red nose. So,
we always feel funnier after we've
which is why we end the podcast very quickly after we've had a drink. Speaking of which,
thank you so much, Chris Kauffman, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great, you guys.
No, it's been wonderful. Really and thanks for making us laugh in the sweltering heat.
Which is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. And those of you in our audience, you can reach us at mail@ivoryattic.com. You can also tweet at us at ivory or exit us. What is it?
Sure.
No, it's not Exodus. That's
no.
But you can do something on X to our account, mail or Ivory Attic hosts. And then on Instagram, we're the Ivory Attic. Facebook, we're the Ivory Attic.
Yeah, except for Natalie, who can continue to just private message us.
Yeah, she can. She can email us. Yeah, please do, and we will respond.
Yeah, we will respond. Yeah. Well, excellent.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Ian Isherwood.
I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And thanks for helping us rummage through the Ivory Attic.